I joined my college newspaper for one reason. Mike Leber. Mike Leber was the editor of the Spartan Weekly, which was the campus satirical newspaper, which modeled itself after The Daily Show or The Onion. And he had sort of this journalism school bad boy reputation because the faculty did not approve of us having a fake newspaper. But the thing that really drew me to Mike Leber was the fact that he looked like Han Solo from Star Wars. And he came into our introduction to journalism class one day. It was just a freshman class that everybody has to take, searching for writers. And he walks in all tall and sarcastic, wearing a vest. And I couldn't sign up fast enough. But the minute I saw him, I knew I had to make Mike Leber fall in love with me. But it's not the Star Wars way to just be like, oh, take me now. So I had to pretend like I hated him. So I come home to my roommate and I'm like, oh my God, that man is the worst man ever. I hate him. He is so arrogant. P.S. He's beautiful. And a week later I said, I need to make Matt Leber fall in love with me. So my roommate and I were not the average college freshmen. We didn't go to keg parties or hook up with frat guys. We didn't wear Victoria's Secret sweatpants tucked into our Uggs. But we were more likely to be found in our dorm room singing show tunes at 4 a.m, drinking frappuccinos and marathoning every Batman movie the campus video store would lend us. That's what we did with our time. We had a collage of all the fictional men that we wanted to sleep with, you know. Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, that was my choice. Obviously Han Solo, obviously Indiana Jones, but had to mix it up a little. But the truth was, they were both 19-year-old virgins, and we'd never even been kissed. Spartan Weekly, they met in the student union, which was across the street from my dorm room, which was super convenient. And I showed up like I was getting ready to go on a date. I had my one pair of high heels I owned underneath my bootcut jeans and had my boobs all pushed up in somebody else's bar shirt. And I showed up and Mike Leber looks at me and he says, "Your professor told me you were a pretty good writer. You better not disappoint me." And in my head I was like, marry me. But 3 story assignments later, and I was no closer to that epic first kiss between Han Solo and Princess Leia in the engine room of the Millennium Falcon. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. And I lingered after the meeting, pretending to text on my cell phone. And he looks at me and he says, "Hey, do you need a ride?" And I said, "Why, yes, I do. I live in the middle of campus, Shaw Hall, right across from the bus station. You can drop me off there." And remember, I lived across the street. And he drove me home, and it was 8 minutes alone, and I could have said anything to impress him. I should have made a little sarcastic comment about his car, or, I could have said anything, but I just sat there in silence wondering what it would be like to touch his hair. I got out, waited for him to leave, crossed the street, got on a bus, and drove 25 minutes back to where I started. I called it the Leber system, and I did the Leber system every week for the rest of the semester. And I ran into a couple of problems with the Leber system, the first one being that Mike Leber had no interest in being the Han Solo to my Princess Leia, but that didn't stop me. I would do things like write angsty live journal posts and leave them in places where I thought he might check. Facebook, AOL Instant Messenger, the usual. And I would try things when we were alone in the car together during this 8 minutes every week that I looked forward to so desperately. I would do things like pretend to fall asleep. And I would think that maybe if he would wake me up, he'd have to touch me and he'd see how much chemistry we had. But really what happened is he would just go, Ivy, we're here. And I'd have to go, what? Oh, I'm so sorry. I've just been really tired lately. And he went, yeah, and I got out. And eventually, it got to the point where it would be cold or raining, and other people would also need rides home, people who legitimately have places to go. And that sucked for me because, it's a highlight of my week, and I wasn't able to have my 8 minutes. So I would always try to do something a little extra to make sure that he remembered that I was there. Like, I was sitting in the back seat. He had a two-door of the driver's side, and he was standing there waiting for me to get out, and I thought that I would do a little trip, and then he would have to, catch me in his arms, and then he would know how much I loved him. Didn't work. He wasn't even looking. He was looking at his shoe. And one time, I realized I wasn't going to get my alone time, and I thought, there's no way I'm getting on this bus and riding all the way back and wasting an hour of my night if all these other people need rides too. So I said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to catch the bus. Don't worry about it. And I'm standing at the bus station waiting for the car to drive away, and this man comes up to me with a clipboard. And he says, I'm with the bus company. Can I ask you a couple questions about where you're going tonight? And all I had to do was say, oh, I'm just waiting for my friend to leave. But no. I said, yes, I'm actually going to Shaw Hall, where I live. And I go there every week at this time after my meeting of this club that I'm in. It's very important. I just kept going because once you start lying, it's surprisingly difficult to stop. And once you start talking about the Leber system, it's also really hard to stop. I told many, many people, pretty much anyone who would listen to me, because I thought it was really funny. I thought, look how committed I am. I'm in love with my editor. Isn't that hilarious and dramatic? And aren't we rebels? And just, I wanted people to think it was funny. So I told a lot of people. But by the end of the semester, summer came and I was no closer to my goal. So I decided I really liked the freedom of college, and I went to work at a summer camp on the East Coast, thousands of miles from my friends and family. And that was really the freshman year of college that I didn't think I was going to have. I learned to straighten my hair, get drunk, stand up for myself. Your typical growing up experience. And I came back in the fall thinking, I'm a new woman now. I can do anything. I'm finally going to come clean. But 2 weeks into it, I was back on the Leber system. And we were at this mixer for the new freshmen, and one of the writers who had just joined the staff, she came up to me and she said, oh, hey, I'm actually doing a story about Mike Leber because he's a senior this year and he's graduating, and I thought we should do a little profile, a little get to know your editor. Do you have any stories about Mike Leber? And to me, this was like the moment in Empire Strikes Back where Han Solo is about to get frozen in carbonite, and Princess Leia, because she's so desperate, and they have this whatever relationship that they're in the middle of, depending on who you ask. I've read a lot of fan fiction on the subject, depending on when they did it. I have thoughts, but I'll spare you. And she yells out, I love you, and his epic line is, I know. It's just, oh God, it's so great. But I thought this was my carbonite moment. I could finally just get it out there and everyone would know, and it would be this big splash, and regardless of the outcome, I had yelled out how I felt for the first time. So I told her all about the Leber system. And I thought it was funny, and I thought it would come off really well. And then I saw it a week later. Front page, above the fold, the whole thing. Every part of the Leber system. The fact that I thought I looked like Han Solo. The fact that I lied. The fact that I lived across the street. It was all there. And I couldn't bear to face him, knowing that he knew this, because I didn't look cute, I looked crazy. So I quit Spartan Weekly the next day. And I only saw Mike Leber one other time after this incident, and it was right before graduation, and he was walking to class, and so was I, and we were on those little paths, college campuses where really there's no other way around. You just gotta face each other, and he was completely fine, and he, I wished him good luck graduating, and I always took that as a sign that he'd forgiven me. And I want to tell you guys that I don't lie to boys anymore, and that I'm always really honest with my crushes, and that that I've matured, and I'm a real adult now and everything. But the truth of the matter is, I'd do it again. Because when a guy looks like Harrison Ford, you do whatever the fuck it takes. And to that guy that I met with a fedora in Baltimore at BWI, I totally know how to swing dance. Call me.